Hello, lifers, and welcome to another episode of the podcast because life can be a niche. Thank you so much for coming into the living room once again with us, for riding with us. If you are watching right now on the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like and share. You guys know how to get at me on social media at Katie Bryant Writes. That's Katie Bryant Writes on social media. If you are listening to us wherever you get your podcast, thank you so much for listening and for rolling with us. We appreciate you and we value you and want you to watch too and subscribe. So we're just going to get right on into it. You guys know that we normally have a tea of the episode. I have been stuck on some of my favorite teas lately. So this is my cup. It's not a teacup, but it's my cup. It's the Because Life Can Be a Niche cup. And I have in here my loose leaf tea. Today is Paris. And I'm just showing it to you. I wanted to have the bag and actually show you what the loose leaf looks like. And, we may just do an episode on just having tea and the joys of tea, because this is just puts me in a happy place. I know I've had it before. I haven't introduced any new teas. I'm going to sit this over here. But it's just because it's one that I'm stuck on right now and I really enjoy it. So that is that. I just want to pop in real quick to talk about a topic that kind of came up back and forth on Instagram. I think I posted the last podcast was about, loving yourself and making sure that you take care of yourself and love yourself first. And out of that, I got a couple of questions from people saying, you talk about being divorced and being a divorced mom of boys and, dating or, dating after divorce. I think that's one of my hashtags. And yeah, I do talk about that a lot because it is definitely, I have shared before, it is a ride out here in these dating streets. So different, than when I was dating before I got married. I got married in 2006, and the dating game was different, or I just didn't know any better. Maybe I was just sheltered or was doing it wrong. I don't know, but the dating game has changed so much. But, a couple of ladies asked me okay, how did you know you were ready? Or, what did you learn in the dating world after divorce? What was the biggest thing that you've learned? How did you get that sign? Or, are you dating at all? And the answer is yes, I am dating and I am enjoying myself. And I guess the short of it of, what I've gotten out of it, I guess the biggest thing that I've learned and that I, want to share with other people is dating is definitely hard. It's different these days. It is, it's different when you're older. I have been very clear. You can look in it. I know this HD camera is picking up these gray hairs. I'm seasoned. I am 47 years old. I will be 48 in June, on June 14th. And happy about it. I am embracing my age. I love being in my 40s. I didn't think I would, but I actually do. But dating when you're older is different. Dating after you're divorced is different, especially if kids are involved. I think the biggest lesson that I can share with anyone, and I share this in any relationship, but especially if you have been married or common law married or cohabitating with someone for a number of years or happen to have a family, is make sure you are ready before going out in the dating world. That's one thing that I have seen and experienced, both ends of it definitely. So I had divorced in 2015, and um, just kind of dibbled and dabbled, just talking really to people, reconnecting with some folks. But I was not ready to date again. One, I had not fully um, grieved the end of my marriage. I knew that the divorce was inevitable, and I was ready for that. But I had not taken a moment to myself and gotten me and God together. I think I even shared it on my last podcast when I talk about loving yourself. Um, God cleared all that out, all that clutter, because I have never been one to really be alone. In my older age now, I have enjoyed that time of decompressing and grieving and actually feeling the hurt, and not just just going out on another date and just moving on to get over the hurt that you're feeling from the previous situation. So God didn't allow that coming out of this marriage, even though mentally I was ready and I was there. I still needed the time alone to really understand me, and acknowledge, what did I do wrong? Because in a divorce, yeah, there may be someone who may have committed a whole bunch of things, but it still takes two people. So, you know, I took that time. I didn't have a choice. God made me take that time to really get down to the nitty gritty about who I was, and what he wanted from me, and to really change my heart to see what I needed, and what would be best for me and my family, because I'm not just dating just for me. I have two sons. Since my father has passed away, my mom is here with us most of the time. And so we have a blended dynamic family situation going on. And what I have found out in these dating streets is a lot of people are out here dating without having done the work, dating when they really shouldn't be, or when they're not in a position to be. Some mentally, some emotionally, some legally. Being separated is not the same as being divorced. Not living together is not the same. So, and then people who are dating people and have whole relationships with someone else that they just forget to mention. Um, and so those are all signs of not really being ready. And when I say ready, I mean from the perspective of, I knew I wasn't going into this just to be dating, just to be out there, just dating a whole bunch of people. I knew that I would have to date a few different folks before, really, I guess, finding that situation where I just like, okay, let me settle on down. I didn't think I would just go out there and just, be swept away, and Prince Charming or whatever would just be like, oh yeah, this is it, girl. I knew that there was a possibility that I would date more than one person after my divorce. I actually, it's healthy to do that. I didn't expect to just go from a marriage of 9 years and then boom into a relationship of getting married again. So I knew that I would be out dibbling and dabbling in the dating streets. But what I didn't expect is that there are some people out here who are not equipped or ready for that, or they're dating without a purpose. And my purpose was always to meet someone that I would be serious or long term with. It was never like, oh, I'm just out here just to go out to dinner or go out to eat. No, not at all. So that was one biggie there. And then, it's just not being emotionally there. It's a lot of people, and I'm not going to say guys, because I know if any guys watching or listening, he's probably waiting for me to say, men are out here just doing whatever. Although I date men, and I have dated some men who had absolutely zero business dating. I mean, just I don't know what you out here doing, because we're at an age now, we're old enough to know better, and we're old enough to be honest and to be very forthright about what it is we want. So, there are just some folks just out here just wayward, just doing whatever. And you can't afford that. There's some men who are not emotionally there. They think they are ready to date. But if you find yourself dating, and of course, if you're dating multiple women and, talking about what life would be like with you, and then talking about, what life would be like with you, that's just a whole bunch of mess. That you ain't ready. You ain't got no business out here dating anybody. Because you are not at a point where you are ready to be honest. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can date more than one person. I mean, there are lots of books and lots of psychologists who will say you're single until you're married. You're free to roam about and date whomever you please. But if you are in a situation where you claim to be God-fearing and you claim to be looking for a godly woman, then the best approach is probably the honest approach of, hey, I'm dating other people too, kind of situation. And that's not always the case. And you want to be at a point where you can, I guess, embrace the whole dating experience. And you cannot do that if you have baggage, or you're just dating multiple people because you're trying not to think about the situation that you just got out of. And, you just marriage it, and then dating, and then marriage, and then dating, and then, I mean, it's just, give yourself time to be ready for that. And I knew that I had to do that. I didn't have a choice. But at the same time, I also knew that I was going through a time. My father passed away in 2018 from cancer. And so I was, along with my mom, his caregiver. And so I know when you're emotionally raw, that you have to be very careful not to jump into something, because you're just already dealing with a lot of emotions. So I was very mindful of that when I started dating someone, that I didn't want it to be, my father died and then I started dating. I mean, I was seeing this person well before my dad passed away, because I've heard so many instances where people experience a loss or a tragedy or trauma, and then boom, there it's all in this relationship, and boom, there it's all off in la la land. And I definitely did not want to be caught up in the la la land, getting swept away thing. But also too, when you're divorced, majority of the time you're probably going to have kids, or he may have kids, and whether they're grown or they're young, that's something that you have to take in consideration into the dating game of, are you ready for that? Are you even ready to have that dynamic happening? For me, it was very hard. I was sneaking and dating because I didn't want the boys to just see, introducing them to people that I may date a few times and then go out a couple times and like, this is not the right situation, or be involved with somebody for 6 months, and it's still, or 6 months to a year, you can be with somebody almost 2 years and it's still not really work. So there's that fine line there of, whether or not you're even ready to introduce the dynamic there into that. And it took me a while to get to the point where I was even ready to, I guess, even sneak and date. So not that I was even bringing anybody home, but I was really careful once I finally got to the point where, okay, I'm gonna go out on a date. And I was sneaking around doing it because I didn't want to explain to them where I was going, what I was doing, or anything like that, because I don't want them to be like, oh, well, when are we gonna meet, whomever you're talking to. You ain't gonna meet them. So that's another part there, where out here you have to be ready for that, because you think it's hard with younger kids. And I have dated guys who had children, you know ages similar, preteens or just turned teenagers or whatever. I've also dated guys with adult children. And and there's another dynamic there, because when you're dating someone, depending on how the situation is, the kids could really not like you, or be blaming you for, why their parents are together, even adult children. So that's another layer and another dynamic, that for the parent of the adult children and for the person they're dating, you really have to navigate and adjust, because they're still your children. They're going to always be your kids. And if you're dating with a purpose, there will be a time, there will come a point when you will take it to that next level, and maybe end up engaged or married, and you're blending this family of where, the situation, just, if you may be ready to date, but your children might not be ready. So that's something else that you have to navigate there too. I know with my kids, they have been quite vocal about what they think is right and wrong in the dating world. They've had their opinions about their father and his dating, and eventually getting married. They've had very strong opinions about that. And then they've had very strong opinions about me and dating. And they haven't even approached the word married with me yet. It's just like, so you're dating, huh? So there's that. So that in itself is a lot. It is definitely a weight, because you're juggling with the kids and stuff. And then too, making sure your heart is there, and that you are, straighten this up. It looks like I got it off a little bit. Are you even ready to move on with that next person? Is it just comfortable? That's something you have to weigh. That's something I ask myself. Like, okay, am I seeing this person because I really like them and I'm interested in getting to know them? Or is it because I'm comfortable, or I'm just like, okay, clock's ticking. It's not a whole lot, not a whole lot of choices out here, because you want to make sure that you don't settle, because you still have desires and hopes and plans. Of course they change. What I wanted when I was in my 20s and 30s, and now in my 40s, it's completely different. You start looking at, okay, so I want to retire with this person. Like, what are we going to do when we retire? when you're younger, you're not thinking about. I mean, it's a whole bunch of other stuff you thinking about with that partner, spouse. Got nothing to do with retirement. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. It has absolutely nothing to do with retirement. I mean, you're looking at, you know, young people stuff. I mean, there are some people who are real mature and say, "Oh, I was just so mature. I was looking at, the lifespan." Yeah, you're looking at the lifespan, but come on now. You know those butterflies are bubbling around in there. It's more than that, and you still want that. I hope. If that's your desire, if your desire is to marry again and have a life partner, you are looking at the end game for sure. But you want the Zaza Zoo. You deserve that, but you have to be ready to fight for it, ready to have to deal with the external, the challenges of the families understanding sometimes. And I'm specifically talking about people who are divorced, because you're bringing someone into a dynamic of an already established family. If you have children, definitely you're bringing in you're blending a situation where they may not even want to be blended. So you have to weigh those things, and I can't even really just talk about this all, I guess, um in one podcast, because we could talk about this, like, this could be a series really about being ready and doing the work and making sure that you're in a place where you're available, you have an amicable separation with the person you were with before, whether you were married or dating someone. Nobody wants to have to deal with somebody calling and texting and angry, or possibly running into you and being angry. That's just, we're too old for that. But you also want to make sure that your situation is stable and healthy for your children, if kids are involved, young and adult kids, because it's still a new dynamic to navigate. And then you want to make sure that your mind is right, to the point where you know what you're out there for. If you're out there just to say, "Hey, I don't ever want to get married again. I just want to date. I want to be, just out dating different people," then having the integrity to just tell the person that you're dating, "This is what it is. I'm not trying to get married. I'm not trying to look for anything long term. I just want to be out here in these stage streets doing what I do," and then allowing that other person the opportunity. The worst thing in the world is to be on the other end of dating someone who is in a whole nother situation with someone else. And you're just like, all the times we talked and you never thought. I had to find out, I had to see on social media that this is what you got going on. That's the worst feeling in the world for grown people. Young kids, yeah, y'all do all kinds of crazy stuff, but when you good and seasoned, you don't want to deal with that. You don't even want to deal with the headache of that. And it's a lot of people who are just not matured enough to where they feel they can be honest about their situation. So you have to really do your homework, and really, just decide, am I ready to get back out there again? Am I ready to be hurt again? Because it's a possibility. Am I ready to deal with possibly introducing someone to my children? A lot of things. It's so many things. And I'm still dating. So I'm not, off the market. I'm not married yet. Yet. Yeah, I'm putting that yet there because I'm speaking positive and putting it out there. Like, hey, that's what I want. I don't want to be out in these streets forever. So there. So I guess the key is knowing yourself and being really honest, like sitting down and really being as honest as you can possibly be about what it is you want and what you're willing to deal with, and and how hard you really want to fight for that relationship. Relationships are, people say they're hard. It's not the relationship that's hard. Life is hard. Situations that come up are hard. And the dynamics of loving someone fully to the way they deserve to be loved is it requires work. You got to be ready. You got to be ready.